Okay, so let's see here. Lesson number 6. Um, when you inspire others, sometimes it comes back around to inspire you. Uh, People will remind you of your bravery even when you don't give yourself credit. When I decided to do this and I started telling people, this is what I was going to do, I'm about to travel the world by myself and just do what it do. I'm just going to bounce around the planet for a minute and figure out what I want to do with the rest of my life. And, people would say, oh, I can never do that. Um, some of them would be like, why? What's wrong with you? Or it's dangerous or, whatever. But the majority of people will be like, oh, God, that's so brave. Oh, I wish I could do that. Um, you know, uh, Praising your courage. Oh, that's awesome. Or I remember this girl that's like, that's so dope. I'm like, oh, I'm dope. Thank you. I'm dope. It, while they were saying this, I was just kind of like, I'm not really doing anything special, and the thing is, because I had been researching it and I knew there were other women out there doing this exact thing. So I'm just like, yeah, what I'm doing is like, it's other people doing it. It's nothing special. It's just kind of whatever. I didn't feel like it was anything special. But I had to step outside myself uh, as a result of other people saying, girl, you're doing this is ha- yes, there's other people doing it, but they're not you. And the things that you're doing are still amazing. Don't compare yourself to other people. Consider what you're doing for yourself. Maybe you're traveling and you're spending a lot of time inside, but ma'am, that flat you're staying in, it's in the south of France. And when you look out that window and see the Mediterranean, you're looking through a pine tree, not pine tree, a palm tree that's strung with Christmas lights. And the Mediterranean's out there. I mean, you could be at home in Atlanta, looking out the window at some pine trees, what you're used to, but you're way over in France, uh, ma'am. But just as an FYI, as part of my planning, I made sure that I set up therapy sessions with a therapist. So while I was over there by myself, um, I was checking in with someone regularly, uh, responsibly, just to make sure that my mental health was good where it needed to be. And that worked for me. And she was one of the ones that's just like, ma'am, think about what you're doing. It is special. It is. And take time to recognize that. Recognize what you're doing. Don't just go through the motions. Take time to take stock in what you've done, how you got here, and what that means to you and what that looks like in your life. So yeah, you know, I, I'm out. I was out there in those international streets by myself in the middle of a pandemic, no less. So yeah, I had to learn to give myself some credit. And so, with that said, lesson number 6, inspiration can be a boomerang. When you inspire others, sometimes it comes back around to inspire you. And then I wanted to reference a poem by Marianne Williamson. It's called Our Deepest Fear. So it's Our Deepest Fear by Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Yeah, that hits home. And I hope you see how it's kind of threaded throughout all my lessons. So, yeah. Okay. Lesson number 7. Um, my identity was never my job. I just thought it was. I mean, it's typical of Americans. Sometimes someone will roll up on you, and the first thing they ask is, what do you do? Well, maybe the second thing, what's your name? What do you do? Um, and I'm a project manager. I've been a project manager for 25 years. Certified project manager, certified scrum master, blah 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 blah. Um, so yeah, I had to say, when I left corporate America and I quit my job, I was missing someone sending me a text or email asking for help. Um, while I was out, no one asked me, "Oh, what do you do?" I mean, I met some people while I was out, but no one cared what I did. They might be like, "What are you doing here?" But they're not like, "What do you do?" And if they did ask me, I wasn't sure how to answer that question anyway. I mean, I had quit my job. So what did I do? I was a scrub. I didn't do nothing. um, that was surprisingly tough for me. I was surprised how tough it was. Um, I discovered that I didn't know who I was without a job. Let that sink in. Lesson number 8. Um, the end of my sabbatical was not the end of my self realization journey. So, I said I took the sabbatical I was fed up. I was tired. I just wanted to get away, um, reset, figure some things out. And really, I think in the back of my mind, I hoped that I would have some epiphany. I had hoped that I would go out in the world and be like, oh, I'm so awake now. I am so alive. I have the answer to everything. I'm a sage. I know stuff. Everything is just clear to me now. That didn't happen. I have to be honest with you. It didn't happen. I learned a lot. I mean, 1 through 10 things that I learned. When I came back, I tried to settle back down, just go back to the way things were, go back to what I used to do, what was normal for me. Um, I started applying for jobs, and I had a couple of interviews. And during those first 2 interviews, I'm like, ugh, I didn't, I felt different. I wasn't the same person. When you're taken out of what is your norm for a period of time, and you're going through all these different things, and then you go back and try to, people always say, oh, I want to go back. We like to reminisce about times of times that have passed, and you can't go back, to be honest. Never. We can never go back. It's never going to be the same. And I discovered that I had changed. Who I was, how I felt about things had changed. My perspective changed. You know, I had to step back and figure some things out for myself. Let me try something that's not corporate America. Let me try to do my own thing. People have been telling me for years, start your own business. And I'm like, no, I don't want. And I'm like, let me try that. So I came home thinking, well, that was fun. I did a sabbatical thing. Now it's over. It wasn't over. I can't say it was just the beginning, but I mean, I was in the middle of still figuring myself out, figuring out what I wanted to do with myself. I didn't, there were places that I liked while I was out there, but I didn't find a place that I'm like, this is it. This is where I want to live the rest of my life. I didn't. So I came home, I came back, and I continued to, as I tried to, plug myself back into what I considered as the norm, it was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable. Um, some people call it reverse culture shock coming back, but things were uncomfortable. And they continue to be honest, the things that are happening. Well, I mean, eh, there's nothing normal about what's happening. Well, maybe it is. This is what's normal for us now. Just crazy stuff happening all the time. But, you know, um, at this point, I'm still realizing who I want to be, who I am, where I want to be, and what I want out of life in the midst, you know, of everything that's happening. Um, Stepping away from the norm, my house, my job, my country, and so forth, changed me. I came out I came out of my sabbatical, I think, wiser and grateful, more grateful about things. So yeah, lesson number 8. The end of my sabbatical was not the end of my self-realization journey. I'm still on it. Back in America, but I'm still on that journey. Okay. Lesson number 9. Starting over isn't failure, it's a survival skill. So I've talked about the many times that I've started over after having been laid off from a job. And I had to figure things out for my family. How do I keep this family afloat? How do I keep us in a house, housed, fed, and everything? Um, I've been laid off at least 3, if not 4 times. At least 3, a minimum of 3 times. And each time I had to figure things out. That wasn't my choice to be laid off. It was unexpected. Sometimes it came with severance. Sometimes it didn't. This particular time when I took a sabbatical, the reset was self-inflicted. I laid myself off in essence, but it was my choice. This time it was my choice, and I was able to plan and prepare. I wasn't caught unaware. Um, I was able to say, hey, I'm taking my life in my hands. I'm in control. If I can survive some executives saying, hey, we don't need these people, cut them, let them go, whatever, um, then I can survive myself saying, I'm going to do this for me. Um, I chose to be proactive instead of reactive and see what happens. And I, just like all the other times, I came out the other end okay, and wiser and more grateful and all these things that I'm sharing with you today in my lessons. So yeah, lesson number 9, starting over isn't failure, it's a survival skill. Lesson number 10, community shows up in unexpected places. Um, so I'm an introvert. I and that doesn't mean I'm shy, but I do appreciate my alone time. Um, so you know, I could easily go somewhere and just keep to myself. But there were times when I was out there that I wanted a connection with others. You know, um, I met up with fellow travelers, expats that were living in these places, um, friendly locals. Everywhere I went, if you could, if they either spoke English or you could speak their language, whether or not is bad, there were friendly people there that were curious about you, and they were um, caring. You know, I can't recall. I can't recall where I encountered anybody, especially locals, that treated me in any kind of bad way. Overall, everybody was friendly, So I, when I wanted to, I could connect with people. I there was a cafe in Cagnes-sur-Mer in France that I would go to regularly and work out of the cafe with my laptop. Um, and the workers there would talk to me and be friendly. There was, so in Antalya, Turkey, this was my most memorable community experience, I'd say. There was a young girl that I met, um, and she invited me to have lunch with her and some of her friends. She was in a class where they were learning, I think they were learning Turkish, the language. Um, and they were from all over. There were people from, geez, Iran, Iran, Russia, uh, Ukraine, um, Azerbaijan. I think that's how you say it. People from countries that Pakistan. There are people from countries that you hear fight all the time. And at the time, the whole conflict with Russia and Ukraine, there were people there from Russia and Ukraine. And we were all sitting down on the beach having lunch. It was like a potluck. They brought stuff, and I felt bad because I was invited at the last minute, but I didn't bring anything because I didn't know, and I was unprepared, and But she said come, and I came, and they shared their food with me. I can't tell you what we ate. I don't remember the name of that stuff. Um, but there was stuff I could recognize, like chips and whatever. And the way people talk to each other, they'd be like, these two people spoke Russian, and 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 then maybe one of them spoke English, and it was like from Russian to English, and then it was crazy. It was crazy. It was beautiful. I was the only American. I mean, it warms my heart as I think about it that afternoon, sharing a meal with these people and just laughing and communicating, the way we did. It sticks with me. And I think it will stick with me for the rest of my life. And it's just a testament to people, you know. I like to believe that there are more good people in the world than people that have good in their hearts, that just want to live and enjoy life and let others live and enjoy life as well, and sometimes come together and share with others. um, Unfortunately, it's the minority that throws things into an upheaval: wars, conflicts, trying to keep other people down. But this was a beautiful experience, and where else would I have had that opportunity? So yeah, lesson number 10: community shows up in unexpected places. So yeah, that's 10 things that I learned while on my sabbatical. Um, as I mentioned, I didn't leave the country because I was afraid. I left because I was tired, and the discomfort of feeling stuck where I was outweighed the fear of risking it all to see what else is out there. If you're feeling that way, maybe this is a sign to explore something different. And I hope my sharing my experience inspires and helps you to discover what's best for you in this season in your life. Um, yeah. So let me know in the comments, what you're thinking about. Are you thinking about a sabbatical? Are you thinking about slow travel or just leaving for good? Um, if you have any questions for me, feel free to drop them in the comments, and I'll make a video about it. I am happy to share my experience. I think that's how we learn. I did a lot of research before I took my sabbatical. I watched a lot of videos, and a lot of women helped me make my decisions. They gave me some comfort and some, answered questions that I had. So I want to do the same. So if you're interested in hearing more about my travels, past and future, and what's going on in my life today, please subscribe. I'll be posting more content soon. So thanks for watching. Bye.